We always had food on the table. We never went hungry. I never thought we were poor. I really didn't. I had jeans and shirts that I wore to school. When I come home, I was told to take them off. And my mother always had the other jeans, the knees patched.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated that. I didn't like patched jeans. And now everybody's paying big money for jeans that are torn. And Morgan comes over and she's got stuff. And it's all like that,
Yeah.
barely hanging together. And she said, "Well, I paid big bucks for these." My dad, besides working at Holberg Paper Mill, had a truck garden.
Mhm.
And with this business of where you were born and that, and what nationality you were, a guy came that was new, and he had his bushel basket, and my dad sold tomatoes. And my dad was cleaning the tomato. He always took the dirt off of all of them and put them so all the stems are off, and just put them in the basket. And you got a heaping bushel basket of tomatoes. And those days they canned stuff, beans, but tomatoes, all that. And this guy said to him, to my dad, "What's your last name?" "Starry." "Oh, you're Bohemian." My dad said, "No, I was born here. I'm American." And the guy said, "Well, your parents were Bohemian." "Yeah, but I'm an American. I'm born here." And they argued about it.
Yeah.
And he was very vehement about it.
Yeah.
If you,
If you're born here, you're an American.
and when I went over to visit with him to his parents, I'd walk in the door and she'd say, "Hi, Alan. Would you like some soda?" So she'd give me a soda, and after that, I never understood the word that was said. They talked Bohemian, my dad and her. And,
That's
and
crazy.
it was kind of like a small Bohemian neighborhood, too.
What was the first moment that kind of got you into collecting trains, or just even before you started collecting them? Just what inspired you?
I always went down to Economy Boys, took the bus, and I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. I always went in there and got the nice catalog of all the Lionel trains for that year. And every year for about 3, 4 years, I asked for a Lionel train for Christmas. And my parents kept saying, "Well, your two brothers are too young to handle electrical stuff." But by the time I was 11 in 1947, for Christmas, the three of us got an electric train, and I still have it. And it cost me more to get it fixed up, just the engine, than the whole set did with the transformer and the uncoupling track and the cars and everything else. But to this day, that's what got me into liking trains.
What's the story of these? There were these train guys that apparently stole from your father's garden.
When he had the garden there in the back, he grew tomatoes for Zabonics. And Zabonics in those days had a cannery.
Mm-hmm.
And every Memorial Day, Mike and I knew what we would be doing. Planting tomatoes with Grandpa George and his dad, Joseph. And we'd plant the tomatoes and hoe them and weed them and everything. And then when the tomatoes were ready, he planted corn, and I had to help him with that. He'd do with the hoe, and he'd put 3 in, not 4, 3. And one time I put 4 in. I said, "Told you 3 kernels, in the hill." He covered it up. I go to the next one, and that was sweet corn. And when we were working in the garden and the corn was just about ready. He went and looked, and he said, "Well, tomorrow for lunch we're going to have corn." So about 11 o'clock, he went over to the corn patch, and he looked, and all the corn was gone. And some of the tomatoes that were starting to ripen were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they stole any cucumbers or not, because he always had cucumbers. And so he laid a trap for them because he figured that switchman guy, when he was waiting for the guys to come back from switching, because he had to switch it back for trains going on the main line. And they left him standing there, and he had bags and everything, and he went in and he stole the corn, and he stole tomatoes, and he stole, I don't know, whatever was ripe.
Yeah.
And my dad caught him, and he said to him, "I'm going to turn you into your supervisor." And he said, "No, no, 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 don't do that. I'll lose my job." And he said, "Okay, well then you give my son a ride on your train." "We can't do that either. I'll lose my job." Well, he says, "You got a choice." So he talked to the engineer, and I don't know, it was a diesel engine. Then in those days,
Interesting.
about I don't know 19, I don't know the date, but was going from steam to diesel, and it was a diesel switcher. Fact is, on my train board, I don't have it out, but I got a diesel just like it and paid it just like it. He came to me and he says, every Christmas time, at Christmas time, I take everybody out to dinner and drinks, and I pay for it. And we take the husbands and wives, and you can bring a wife. And I said, "I'm not married." "Well, you can bring your girlfriend." I said, "I don't have a girlfriend." And he looked at me. He says, "You'll find one." And it turned out that I had met Grandma at Don Bosco in Alloway here at St. Matthew's. Father Emmett Weber started the Don Bosco Society. That was like CYO, but for older kids,
Mm-hmm.
that were out of high school. And I thought, oh, heck, I'll ask her. And I asked her, and she said yes. And I told my golfing buddy that, and he said, "What are you, nuts?" But he wouldn't tell me why. Well, I found out later she'd been to the convent twice.
Oh
He
yeah,
came
that's right.
out.
You told me about that.
But we had a good time. And of course, being single and the gentleman, you get out of the car and you walk her up to the door. Well, I don't know if you've been by the house where Grandma lived when she was younger. Have you been
I
across
don't think I have.
on Woodrow Way? But there's steps and a big porch. And I stopped at the bottom of the steps, but she kept walking up the steps and went in, unlocked the door, and she's still talking. She looks around at me. She comes back down, gives me a kiss, and zips up again. And we dated for a while. And, I gave her my ring from graduation. She had tape on it. And she lost that. I think on purpose. I don't know. I can't prove that. But anyway, we couldn't find it. And so I was talking to my mother, and my mother said, "Well, I got some diamonds from Grandma Shook. I'll give you one." So she gave me a nice sized diamond. So all I had to buy was the setting for it, which was, nice. And it was like toward the end of July, and it was hot when I went over to visit. And Janice and the twins were sitting out on the front porch, and her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, Marilyn and I went in the living room. We were watching television, and there was a commercial. And I said to her, "You still want to get married?" Yeah, yeah. So I opened that. Well, I thought she was going to go through the ceiling. She screamed and hollered, and Janice come in, ready to take me out.
What are you doing to my sister?
Yeah, she thought something had happened and I did something wrong. And Meryl says, "No, no, no, no. Okay." So that was the beginning of our relationship. I don't know. I think I had a good life.